Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of Julie's Story Collection by Megan MacDonald, narrated by Ali Ahn, and directed by Sarah Sarchin. And now, the first story in this collection, Meet Julie. Julie Albright faces big changes after her parents' divorce, and creates some changes of her own. Chapter 1. Moving Day. The world spun, first upside down, then right side up again, as Julie Albright and her best friend, Ivy Ling, turned cartwheels around the backyard. "Watch me do a backflip," called Ivy. She leaned back, stretching her neck like a tree bending in the wind. Soon her shiny black ponytail bounced upside down as she twirled through the air, landing perfectly on 2 feet. "I always fall flat on my face," said Julie. "I'll never be as good as you, no matter how hard I practice." She sighed. "I'm sure gonna miss doing gymnastics with you after school every day." "I'm gonna miss playing basketball in your driveway," said Ivy, "even though you always beat me." Julie stuck out her lower lip and made an exaggerated sad face. Both girls fell down laughing. Then they stretched out on the grass, folding their hands behind their heads, and gazed dreamily at the clear blue sky. A perfect September day. "Hey, look," said Julie, pointing to an airplane high up in the sky. "Maybe that's my dad. Hi, Dad!" The two girls whooped and yelled and waved. Mr. Albright was a pilot. Julie always waved at every airplane she saw, imagining it might be her dad flying to some exotic, far-off country. "What are you going to miss most?" Julie asked. "Walking to school together and sitting behind you in class," said Ivy. "Passing notes and braiding your hair when the teacher's not looking." Julie had long, straight blonde hair, and Ivy could make a teeny tiny braid down one side in seconds. "Who am I going to be lunch buddies with?" said Julie. "You're the only friend in the world who would trade me your Twinkie for a pickle." "Julie!" Mom called from the back porch as she took down some hanging geraniums. "Time to get a move on. The van will be here in half an hour." Julie and Ivy turned cartwheels all the way to the back steps. "I guess I better get going," said Ivy. "Not yet," said Julie. "Come up to my room with me while I make sure I'm all packed." Upstairs, Julie scooped up Nutmeg, her pet rabbit, from her favorite spot in the laundry basket and plopped down cross-legged next to Ivy on Mom's old footlocker. It was covered with travel stickers of Big Ben, London Bridge, and the Eiffel Tower. Ivy stroked Nutmeg's velvet brown fur, while Julie scratched her pet behind her floppy lop ears. Nutmeg snuffled softly, and her sleepy eyes started to close. "I'm sure gonna miss you, girl," said Julie, kissing her on her wiggly nose and nuzzling her whiskers. "But Ivy's gonna take extra special good care of you whenever Dad's gone." Julie took a long, last look around her room. Ghosts of posters that had once decorated the walls formed an empty gallery around the room, showing off the flowered wallpaper. Craters in the blue shag rug made a strange moonscape, a map of where Julie's desk and dresser had once been. Boxes were piled up everywhere. "It looks like a fort in here," said Ivy. "Remember when we built that fort out of clay we dug up from the garden, and we dressed up our little kittles in old-timey clothes?" "I remember," sighed Ivy. The room turned middle-of-the-night quiet. I couldn't look at each other. "I still can't believe you have dark eyes." "It's only a few miles away, across town," said Julie. "It's not like I'm moving to Mars." "I won't be able to blink lights at you from across the street anymore to say goodnight," said Ivy. "But we can call each other up," Julie pointed out. "And you'll still see me on the weekends when I come visit my dad." There was that lump again. She felt it every time she thought of being without Dad. She thought she'd gotten used to the idea of her parents being divorced. But now that she wouldn't be living with Dad anymore, suddenly it wasn't just an idea. It was real. "Here," said Julie. "I made us friendship bracelets. We can both wear them and think of each other." She handed a colorful knotted bracelet to Ivy. "Neat," said Ivy. "And it's red and purple, my favorite colors." "Red and purple are my favorites too," said Julie. "Also blue, green, pink, and sometimes yellow." "Put it on my ankle," said Ivy, holding out her foot. "Hey, do you have a magic marker?" "What for?" asked Julie, taking out a pen from her box of desk stuff. "Give me your foot," said Ivy. Julie held out her once clean high-top sneaker. She had doodled all over it with markers. Ivy wrote something on the rubber tip of the toe. Julie peered at the letters. A, F, A. "A friend always," said Julie. Julie's big sister Tracy poked her head into Julie's room. "Mom says to start bringing our stuff down. Set it in the front room." "Not yet," Julie protested. "Just a few more minutes." It was bad enough they were making her move. Now they were taking away her last moments with her best friend, too. "Mom says now," said Tracy, sounding annoyed. Julie got up and tried lifting a too-heavy box, then set it back down and began dragging a garbage bag across the floor instead. "Now I know why they call it Labor Day," she grumbled. "I guess I better go. For real this time," said Ivy. Julie nodded. The two friends hooked pinkies in a secret handshake they'd had since kindergarten. Neither girl wanted to be the one to let go first. Julie, Tracy, and Mom sat cross-legged on the floor of their new apartment, holding cardboard cartons of Chinese takeout. Mom had pushed a few moving boxes together to serve as a table, and their dinner was spread out on top of the boxes. "It's so great here," said Tracy. "I found this cool stairway you can climb up at Farnsworth. You can see all the way to that new skyscraper that looks like a pyramid." She paused to slurp some noodles off her chopsticks. "And you should see all the groovy shops I passed along Haight Street when I went to get the takeout." Julie admired the way Tracy was always so confident about everything. She wished she could be certain she'd like it here. "My favorite part is that we live above the shop now," said Mom. "Think of it. To go to work, I just have to run downstairs." A few months ago, Mom had opened a shop downstairs at street level, on the corner of Redbud and Frederick, with windows that faced both streets. Mom's shop was full of handmade stuff, such as purses made of worn-out blue jeans. The shop was called Glad Rags. Mom had told Julie it was from the Rod Stewart song that went, "The handbags and the glad rags." The name was Tracy's idea. She had heard the song on the radio. "How about you, Julie?" asked Mom. "What do you think you're going to like best about living here?" Julie glanced around the room. Tiny rainbows of color danced across the empty walls, flashing from the prism Mom had hung in the front window. "Well, I especially like the dining table," Julie decided, pointing to the boxes they were eating on. Mom and Tracy laughed. "The real dining table isn't put back together yet," said Mom. "I couldn't find the screwdriver." "Couldn't find the hairbrush either, huh, Mom? Have you looked in a mirror lately?" asked Tracy. To Julie, her 15-year-old sister was a teenage hair freak. Tracy actually used orange juice cans for curlers to straighten her hair. Julie looked over at her mom's tumbling brown hair, held in with a pair of hair sticks. "Tracy's right, Mom. You see hump. More like a camel hump," said Tracy. The two girls leaned back, laughing. "Hey, what can I say?" asked Mom. "It's hard to look like Miss America on moving day." Mom's bangle bracelets jingled as she tried to pin her hair back up. The doorbell rang, and Tracy ran to answer it. "Mom, it's some guy," she announced. Julie looked up from her chicken chow mein. Standing in the doorway was a curious-looking man. He had a bushy red beard and wiry red hair, and he wore a patched green army jacket and a baseball cap. "Hank," said Mom, standing up. "Come on in. Girls, this is Hank, a friend from the neighborhood. He was my first customer the day I opened the shop." "Far out," said Tracy. "Hank, these are my girls, Tracy and Julie." "I've heard a lot about you from your mom," said Hank. "Here." He held out a plate covered with foil. "I made you some of my famous zucchini bread to welcome you to the neighborhood." "Yum," said Julie and Tracy, peering under the aluminum foil. "Thanks," said Mom. "Can't wait to taste it. Can you stay for some tea?" "No, I'm on my way to a big meeting about the vet center, but thank you." He handed Mom the foil-covered plate, tipped his cap at Tracy and Julie, and left. "That was so nice of him," said Tracy. Mom nodded. "Hank's a good egg." She set the plate on the kitchen counter. "Now, where were we? Let's get this footlocker into your room, Julie." "You're gonna help me fix up my room, right?" Julie asked. "Of course, honey." "I need curtains," said Julie, "and a lampshade for my light." "We can make curtains," said Mom, "and decorate a lampshade. Hey, how would you like one of those fuzzy rugs in the shape of a foot?" "Perfect," said Julie, helping Mom clear away the leftovers. "I volunteered to wash the dishes tonight," said Tracy. "There aren't any dishes," said Julie. "We ate out of the boxes." "Exactly." Tracy grinned. She pretended to practice tennis against the living room wall with a fake racket. First her forehand, then her backhand. "Did you guys know that back in the olden days, before they even had rackets, people used to play tennis with their hands?" "I had no idea," said Mom. "I just can't wait for school. I'm going out for the tennis team. Maybe debate too, but definitely tennis," Tracy chattered on. "Someday, I want to go to France, to the French Open." "What's that?" Julie asked. "It's only a world-famous tennis match. Chrissy Everett won the Grand Slam there for the last 2 years in a row." "My sister's a hair freak and a tennis freak," Julie announced. Tracy pretended to lob the ball right at her sister. 15 love, said Tracy. "I don't see how I'm going to start a new school this week," Julie said, when Mom came to tuck her in. "I don't even know where a pencil is or my binder or anything. What if I left some of the stuff I need at Dad's? What if I get lost trying to find my classroom? What if nobody talks to me and I can't find a friend?" "Honey, I know this is all new and it's not going to be easy at first," Mom said, sitting down beside Julie on the bed. "But I'll take you the first day and we'll meet your teacher and make sure you know your way around. And how could the other kids not like you?" Mom reached to hug her. "You don't understand. You know, when I was your age, Grandpa moved us to France for a year. I could barely speak French. He'd tell me my dress was pretty, but I thought ta robe est belle meant she wanted me to rub a bell. I finally figured out what she was saying, and we had a good laugh. Eventually, we became best friends." "I never knew you lived in France," said Julie. "So those stickers on your old footlocker are real? You saw the Eiffel Tower in person?" "Sure did," said Mom. "I know starting over in a new place is scary. But sometimes you just have to trust in yourself and take a chance." Mom kissed Julie on top of her head and turned out the light. Chapter 2. Capitals at Jack London Elementary. Julie missed Ivy every minute of the day. She had to memorize state capitals all by herself in social studies. She had to sit alone at the lunch table, without Ivy to help make up silly names for the strange-looking food. Names like macaroni and squeeze, with Princess and the Peas. And there was nobody to laugh with her on the playground when she spotted a funny poodle wearing a tie-dyed sweater. Every time she walked down the hall, she found herself looking over her shoulder. Principal Sanchez was all rules and no nonsense. He pointed with a pencil and warned kids to slow down or lower their voices. "Young man, tuck in your shirt," he told a third grader. "I hope that's not gum you're chewing," he scowled at another student. "One more warning and you'll get a demerit." Julie soon knew all about Mr. Sanchez's demerit system. 3 demerits, and you had to stay after school to wash blackboards or scrub desks. Julie's teacher wrote her name in perfect cursive on the board, Ms. Hunter. "You forgot the R in Mrs.," a boy in the back row pointed out. "It's Ms. Hunter," she told the class, drawing out the word Ms. to sound like a buzzing bee. "Not Miss, not Mrs." Huh? The students looked at each other, confused. "Think of it like you call a man Mr. whether he's married or not, right?" The class nodded silently. "Well, Ms. is the same thing for a woman." "But why?" asked a bold girl named Allison. "What's wrong with Miss or Mrs.?" "Whether or not a woman is married is her private business," Ms. Hunter explained. "Ms. works either way." Julie carefully wrote out Ms. Hunter in her best cursive. She wasn't sure she understood. Would people be calling her mother Ms. Albright now? The only kid who talked to her all day was the boy who sat next to her in class. He had a short mop of sandy hair, a spray of freckles across his nose, and a funny name that sounded like a president. Every time Ms. Hunter called him Thomas Jefferson, Julie had to hold back a giggle. "It's TJ," the boy corrected her. When Ms. Hunter told the class to take out their rulers, Julie didn't have one. The girls behind her whispered and twittered. Julie heard the scornful words, "new girl," and "to force." She instantly felt her cheeks get hot. How in the world could they know about that already? "Don't mind them," whispered TJ. "Amanda, Allison, and Angela. To get into their club, your name has to start with an A." Julie nodded. The water fountain girls. She'd seen them hanging around the water fountain that morning, pointing and snickering. TJ handed her a ruler. "Here, you can borrow mine. I have an extra." "Thanks," said Julie. "We just moved, and it's kind of hard to find stuff in all the boxes." Before TJ could reply, Ms. Hunter broke in. "Julie Albright, in my class, we don't speak when the teacher is talking." "But I didn't have a..." "It's okay this time. But remember, boys and girls, any talking out of turn is a demerit." Great, thought Julie. First day of school, and I'm already in trouble. Julie sat up straight and opened her math book. But she couldn't help thinking of Ivy starting 4th grade in Mr. Nader's class. At Sierra Vista, her old school, most kids couldn't wait for 4th grade. Mr. Nader let the 4th graders hatch out butterflies right in the classroom. As Ms. Hunter wrote a metric chart on the board, Julie imagined painted lady butterflies flitting and floating around the classroom. She pictured one landing on the top of her teacher's poofy hair. Julie almost giggled at the thought, but she caught herself. "Class," said Ms. Hunter, "President Ford is about to sign a bill that will soon have the whole country using the metric system. It's what the rest of the world uses. Australia and New Zealand have converted. The metric system is taking over the world, and we Americans don't want to be left behind." Julie sighed. Millimeters? Decimeters? What's wrong with inches? As she picked up TJ's ruler. Inch away from her face. Or was it centimeters? Every day after school now, Julie came home to an empty house. She was used to having Nutmeg hop into her lap the minute she walked through the front door. But because of the stupid no-pet, not even... Mom was always busy downstairs with customers at Glad Rags, while Tracy had started staying after school for tennis practice. 3 whole days of school had passed, and Julie had settled into a routine. A boring, lonely routine. Julie picked up the newspaper and opened it to the funnies. She read Peanuts first, then her horoscope, just for fun. Tracy was always bugging her, saying, "You don't really believe your fortune will come true, do you?" Julie didn't, but it was interesting to think about anyway. Today, the horoscope for Taurus said, "It's only a matter of time until your feet find the right path." Now, what was that supposed to mean? Suddenly, Julie's stomach grumbled. Maybe it meant her feet were going to find the right path to the fridge for a snack. Julie took out an orange and started peeling it. Dense gray fog drifted past the kitchen window. Julie shivered. The house was quiet, except for unfamiliar creaks and gurgles. Ivy! Calling Ivy was the best cure for creepy house noises. "Hi, Poison Ivy," said Julie. "Hi, Alley-oop, what's up?" "I haven't seen you for almost a week. I was wondering if you could come over this afternoon." "You know I can't," said Ivy. "Gymnastics?" asked Julie, but she already knew the answer. "What else?" said Ivy. Julie hesitated and then asked, "Couldn't you miss gymnastics just this once?" "I better not," said Ivy. "You know how Coach Gloria always says you don't get to be Olga Korbut and win Olympic gold medals by missing practice." Julie wished she could go to practice with Ivy, just to have something to do and a friend to do it with. She sighed. "Oh well, I have a test to study for anyway." "You have tests already at your school?" asked Ivy. Julie heard a horn honking on Ivy's end. "Gotta go," Ivy said. "I'll see you Saturday." "Tests? Yuck." Julie went to her room, turned on her lava lamp, and spread out her map of the state capitals. Tallahassee, Topeka, Trenton. Julie started feeling cross-eyed from staring at all the names and states. She sat up on her bed and looked around her bare room. Curtains and a fuzzy rug would be a big improvement. "Mom just hasn't had time to help me fix it up yet," Julie reassured herself. For now, maybe it would help to at least have some of her familiar things around. Julie opened the old footlocker. She lifted out her basketball and gave it a few friendly bounces. She unrolled the poster of Lucy from the Peanuts comic that Tracy had given her last Christmas. It showed Lucy with her fist in the air, shouting, "I'm my own person." Julie tacked it up on her wall. Next, she took out an envelope and peeled some of her yellow smiley face stickers off the backing. They should make frowny face stickers for days like this, she thought, as she stuck them upside down onto the headboard of her bed. But even upside down, the yellow smileys annoyed her with their cheeriness. "Knock, knock," said Tracy, coming in through the bead curtain. "Nobody's home," Julie answered. "Someone's in a mood," said Tracy. "School's hard, and I have a test on state capitals, and my teacher is really strict," Julie said in what? "But it's not just that. I come home every day and nobody's here, not even Nutmeg. Do you know how many strange sounds a house can make?" "You can always hang out down at the shop with Mom," Tracy pointed out. "Mom's busy now. She has customers. She doesn't have time for us anymore." "Of course she does," said Tracy. "Not like before," said Julie. "We used to come home and she'd have cupcakes with gooey icing and help with our book reports and stuff." "Tell you what, how about if I help you study for your test? said Tracy. "I'm a whiz kid when it comes to state capitals. I've memorized most of them, except for about 12 that I'll never get, like Alaska and Nebraska and Kentucky." "All you have to do is make up ways to remember," said Tracy. Juneau sounds like, "Did you know?" So you think to yourself, "Did you know Juneau is the capital of Alaska?" "Hey, buddy," said Julie. "Come on, Julie. I have an idea. A bell jingled as Tracy swung open the bakery door, and the warm air was filled with the smell of cinnamon and just-baked cookies. "Hi, Mrs. Gibson," Tracy waved. "This is my little sister, Julie, and we've come for..." Julie and Tracy oohed and awed and pointed through the glass to cupcakes with pink and white and lemon yellow icing. Behind the counter, Mrs. Gibson lined them up in a box and handed the girls some tubes of colored icing. "You get to decorate your own cupcakes here," Tracy explained. "Cool," said Julie. They sat down at a table in the bakery, and Tracy unfolded Julie's map of the state capitals. "Okay," Tracy started. "There are 12 cupcakes and 12 state capitals you can't remember, right?" "Right. But I don't see how cupcakes are going to help me on my test." "See, we decorate the cupcakes with a picture for each capital. When you go to take your test, you'll be able to remember the picture," said Tracy. "Here, I'll show you. Another name for hot dog is Frankfurter, so we'll make a hot dog for Frankfort, Kentucky." She squeezed out pink icing in the shape of a hot dog. "And a little yellow icing for mustard." "I get it," said Julie. "We could do a heart for Hartford, Connecticut." "And a stovepipe hat for Lincoln, Nebraska," said Tracy. The fog had lifted, and sun streamed through the bakery window. The bell on the front door jingled, and in walked Hank, unwrapping a scarf from around his neck and taking off his cap. "Well, if it isn't the Bobbsey twins," said Hank. "What are you two up to?" "I'm helping Julie study for a test," said Tracy. "I don't know," Hank said, stroking his bushy beard. "Doesn't look like homework to me. Julie, you're grinning like the Cheshire Cat. Come on, let me in on the joke. What's so funny?" "I just ate Lincoln, Nebraska," said Julie. Chapter 3. Jump Shots and Rebounds. The end of the day's school bell had rung 10 minutes ago, but Julie lingered at her locker. She was in no hurry to get home to an empty house again. She closed her eyes and breathed in the familiar pencil shaving and chalk dust smell, and for just a moment, she was back at Sierra Vista School. But when she opened her eyes, her locker stared blankly back at her. Julie pulled the most recent postcard from Dad out of her book bag and taped it to the inside of her locker door. Just as she slammed her locker shut and started down the hallway, a ball bounced out of the gym door, off the wall, and against the lockers, and rolled down the hall right past her feet. A basketball. Julie scooped it up and dribbled down the hallway to the gym, glancing over her shoulder to make sure Principal Sanchez was not nearby. A few boys were horsing around at the far end of the court, playing what looked more like dodgeball than basketball. Out of the corner of her eye, Julie saw TJ bending down, tying his sneaker. "Think fast," she called, tossing the ball at TJ. He jumped up, caught the ball in midair, then drove toward the basket. Julie threw down her book bag and followed him down the court. "Bet you can't get the ball back," TJ teased, switching from right to left, bouncing the ball back and forth, light on his feet. Quick as a cat, Julie crouched low, sprang forward, and with one clean swipe, snatched the ball away from TJ. "Good steal," TJ said, as Julie dribbled around him. "You shoot hoops?" Julie did a layup, then dribbled back over to TJ. "I used to play a lot with my dad." "Hey, how are you at jump shots? Will you try blocking me on my jump shot so I can practice? I want to play on the school team." "There's a basketball team here?" asked Julie. Yeah, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders can join. Mr. Manley's the coach. He puts up a sign-up sheet outside his office. TJ turned and dribbled hard to the left, but Julie stuck to him like glue. For the next 10 minutes, they took turns practicing and defending jump shots, layups, and rebounds. Hey, that was boss. Want to help me again tomorrow? TJ asked. Same time, same place? Really? Sure, that'd be great. Okay, later, said TJ. Later, Julie called back. And for the first time since coming to Jack London Elementary, Julie found herself looking forward to tomorrow. All week, Julie practiced after school with TJ. Now she'd be able to get with some new moves on Saturday. She could hardly wait. Play with Meg and sleep in her own room again. It would be just like old times. First thing Saturday morning, Julie packed her paisley suitcase and waited by the drive. Tracy came out in orange juice can curlers, and Miss Piggy flushed just awakened. You better hurry up, Julie said. You're not even dressed. Dad's gonna be here any minute, and he doesn't like to have to wait. I'm not going, said Tracy. What do you mean you're not going? It's Saturday. It's our day to go to Dad's and spend the weekend with him. Well, I'm staying here. I have tennis practice anyway, and a bunch of us might go see a movie tonight. What about Dad? You can't decide not to go just like that. Julie snapped her fingers. We're still a family, you know, and Dad's part of it too. The orange juice cans bounced and swung as Tracy shook her head. Give it up, Julie. We're never going to be a regular family again. This isn't the Brady Bunch. Besides, I'm in high school now. I'm old enough to decide for myself what I do on the weekends. You think you're so... Julie hesitated, but couldn't find the right words. Toot toot! Dad had said he'd honk for them, so he wouldn't have to find a parking place. He's here, said Julie. What am I supposed to tell him? Whatever you want, said Tracy. I don't care. Toot, toot, toot. Dad was waiting. So you won't care if I tell him my sister turned into an alien? Julie grabbed her bag, ran down the back stairs, kissed her mom goodbye in the shop, and rushed out to the waiting car. Julia, seashell eyes, windy smile, sang Dad. It was his favorite Beatles song because it had her name in it. You look different, Julie told Dad as she got into the car. Same old me, said Dad. So, do you have everything? Where's your sister? She's not coming. Julie looked down, letting her fingernail worry at a scab on her arm. But it's our... Never mind. Wait here. I'll be right back. Dad sprinted up the steps to the front door. Julie could see him from the back, gesturing with his hands as he talked with Tracy, who stood in her bathrobe with her arms crossed. Finally, Dad came back without Tracy and started the car. He was extra quiet, so Julie tried to think of things to say. She chattered on about her state capitals test and how all the kids were looking forward to Dad coming to career day at school next week, and the new basket she hoped to get for her bike. It would be big enough to hold Nutmeg. After a few blocks, Julie flipped on the radio and sat back in her seat. She made up her mind to make the most of her weekend with Dad and forget about Crabby Appleton, a.k.a. Tracy. Besides, she realized, it might be nice having Dad all to herself for a change. As soon as they pulled up to the house, Ivy came running across the street. Allie Oop, you're here! What do you say we head down to the wharf? Asked Dad, pulling Julie's suitcase out of the trunk. There's a festival at Ghirardelli Square, with face painting, jugglers, magicians, and even a no-hands chocolate eating contest. Julie and Ivy looked at each other with delight. Can we ride the cable car? Julie asked. Why not? Said Dad. Ivy ran to ask her parents, and soon they were on their way. Ding! Ding! Rang the bell on the cable car. Julie and Ivy hopped up onto the open-air platform while Dad paid the fare. They gripped the pole tightly, hand over hand over hand, and hung their heads out the side, where the wind whipped their hair. Julie let the bright September sun warm her face. Whee! The two girls giggled with roller coaster glee as the cable car barreled down the hill towards the waterfront. "Blue punch buggy, no punchbacks," Julie called out. Starting off the game, she and Ivy played whenever they spotted a Volkswagen Bug on the streets of San Francisco. She tapped Ivy on the arm, pretending to give her a punch. Ivy scanned the cars parked along Hyde Street. "Red punch buggy convertible. I get to punch you twice, no returns." "Punch buggy orange," called Dad from his seat. "Orange?" Julie and Ivy looked at each other and laughed. "Dad, where do you see an orange VW?" "That VW van right there," said Dad, as the cable car came to a stop at an intersection. "See?" The van was covered with bumper stickers and painted daisies. "It has to be a Volkswagen Beetle," said Julie. "Like Herbie, the VW Beetle in the..." Ivy explained. They hopped off the cable car, music cluttered, and a juggler on stilts amazed the crowd. "Are those chocolate-covered apples he's juggling?" asked Ivy. "Look, he's taking a bite from each apple as it goes by." Dad spread a blanket on the green, watched a mime pretend to climb a flight of stairs. Ivy told her friend excitedly, "Guess what? On the balance beam, we learned how to do a pike on the dismount." Julie sighed. "That sounds really boss. I miss going to the Y after school." Then she brightened. "But I have this great idea. I'm going to play basketball. Sign up is next week." "That's great, honey," Dad said. "It's nice to have a club to go to after school." "It's not just a club, Dad. It's a real basketball team, with uniforms and games against other schools and everything." "I know you'll be a starter on the team," said Ivy. "You're so good at basketball." "Wow," said Dad. "They have a girls' basketball team at your new school?" "Not a girls' team, just a team," said Julie. "You're joining an all-boys basketball team?" asked Ivy. "Why not? TJ's my only friend at school, and he's gonna play," said Julie. "He says I'm just as good as most of the boys." Dad put his hand on her shoulder. "Honey, I know you're good, but I've never heard of girls playing on the boys' team. It's a whole different thing, playing on a team. It's not like shooting hoops with me in the driveway or playing a pickup game at the Y. A team can be a lot of pressure." "It's not pressure to me," said Julie. "It's fun." "Well, boys can be super competitive at that age, and they like to roughhouse," Dad continued. "Did you ever think they may not be too happy about having a girl on their team? I'm not so sure it's a good idea, Julie. I don't want you getting hurt." Julie rolled her eyes. "Dad, I'm not gonna get hurt. In the newspaper, I saw this picture of a girl from Ohio who got to play on the boys' football team. And football's a lot rougher than basketball." She looked over at Ivy as if to say, "Help me out here." "Yeah, Mr. Albright. Basketball's probably a lot safer than gymnastics even," Ivy chimed in. "Look, honey, I'm just not sure about this. Let me think about it. And I'll need to talk it over with your mother, too." Once Julie saw the exclamation point creases between Dad's eyebrows, she knew it was time to drop the subject. That night, when Dad came to say goodnight and tuck Julie in, he gave her a souvenir he had brought back from a flight to Chicago. Julie shook the snow globe. "What's this?" she asked. "It's the Sears Tower, honey. It's brand new, and it's the tallest building in the world. And I rode up to the top floor. 110 stories. "Wow," said Julie, watching as miniature snowflakes settled around the tiny black skyscraper. "What fun it would be to see real snow." I have a little something for your sister, too, Dad continued, holding out a tennis visor that said Chicago on it. You'll take it back for me? Sure, said Julie, hunkering down under the covers. Don't worry about her, Dad. Mom says it's just a teenage phase. I hope she's right, Dad said. Julie lifted Nutmeg up onto the bed and stroked her rabbit's ears. It felt so good to be back in her old bed. Dad, you're still coming to school on Monday, right? Like we planned? Of course. It's world's greatest dad day, right? And I'm supposed to wear my pajamas. No, Dad. It's career day, remember? All the kids in my class think it's so cool that you're a pilot. You have to wear your uniform. And bring everybody those pins of wings they give out on airplanes. Okay, said Dad. I guess I won't wear my pajamas then. Promise? Pilot's honor, said Dad. Lights out now. Good night. Sleep tight. Night, Dad. Julie waited for a moment. Dad, you forgot. Don't let the bedbugs bite, said Dad. As soon as the lights were out, Julie saw a flash of light in her window coming from across the street. Ivy was signaling good night with their secret code. Julie tiptoed across the room to the light switch. She blinked the light 10 times in an on-off Morse code for good night, sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite. Chapter 4, Career Day. On Monday morning, Julie watched the clock, waiting for social studies to be over. The rest of the day would be career day, when some of the parents would come to tell about their jobs. Dad was going to tell an exciting story about the time he had to make an emergency landing. The first career day parent was Kathy's dad, a baker who went to work in the middle of the night. He brought 2 boxes of cream-filled donuts for everybody to eat. Kenneth's dad worked at a bank and gave each of the kids a newly minted penny. Robin's dad was a dentist. He gave out special tablets to chew that turned everyone's teeth pink in the places that needed to be brushed better. Julie was only half listening as she toyed with her hair, trying to make a tiny braid the way Ivy used to do. It would be Dad's turn any minute. Where was he? Dad was never late. Sorry, I'm late, a voice whispered in her ear. Not a dad voice. Mom! What was she doing here? Then, in one heart-sinking moment, Julie knew. Mom had come to break the bad news to her. Dad couldn't be here today. Now our last visitor is Mr. Albright, Julie's father, Ms. Hunter announced. Mr. Albright is a pilot. Julie slunk down lower in her chair as Mom made her way to the front, bracelets jangling, and whispered something to the teacher. Then Mom turned and faced the class. Hello, 4th grade. I'm Julie's mom, Mrs. Albright. As much as Julie's dad wanted to be here, he just couldn't be. He had to fill in for another pilot who was sick. Right now, he's about 27,000 feet above the Rocky Mountains. Oh no! This wasn't happening. Julie wanted to yell stop, but she froze in her seat while the rest of the class began firing off questions. What kind of plane does he fly? Is it a 747? Has he ever been to Hawaii? Did he ever have to make a crash landing? Why is your name Mrs. Albright if you're divorced? The room grew quiet. The question hung in the air like fog that wouldn't lift. Julie knew it had to be one of the water fountain girls who had asked it, but she didn't dare turn her head. She stared at a pair of initials carved in her desktop as if it were a work of art in a museum. Class, said Ms. Hunter. Remember how we talked about not asking personal questions? Julie's mother has been kind enough to take the time to tell us about her career, so let's give her our full attention. There will be time for questions at the end. How could this be happening? Julie had bragged to the whole class about the world's greatest pilot, her dad. Not her mom, the junk store, lady. Mom was already pulling a heap of junk out of her old tie-dyed bag. If only could Samantha on Bewitched, her favorite TV show. One twitch of the nose, and she'd blink herself right out of there in an instant. While she was at it, she would blink herself back to her old school, her old life. "Have you ever wondered," asked Mom, "what to do with old string? A pair of ripped-up jeans? You throw them away in the garbage." Mom began passing around some of the artistic handmade items she carried at the shop, like denim purses, macrame plant hangers, and appleseed bracelets. Julie looked at the clock. Wasn't that bell ever going to ring? "Did you make that neat bandana skirt you're wearing?" asked Allison. "What about this cool blue jeans purse?" asked Angela, holding it up. "I like this pink fuzzy foot rug," said Amanda. "It's so cute." Julie sat up straight in her chair. The water fountain girls actually liked her mom's junk. "Julie and I just made that for her room," said Mom. Amanda leaned forward and smiled at Julie. "You made that?" she mouthed, opening her eyes wide and giving her the thumbs up sign. "Do you sell pet rocks?" somebody asked. "How about mood rings?" a boy in the front row said. Suddenly, Julie's whole class had forgotten all about pilots and 747s and crash landings. They didn't even seem to care that it wasn't a dad up there talking. They were bubbling over with questions about what it was like to have your own store. "I want to own a pet store when I grow up," said TJ, "and have giant lizards and rare albino frogs." "You mean anybody can just start their own store?" asked Kimberly. "Sure," said Mom. "I'm not saying it's not hard work. Ask Julie. Some days I'm at my shop until 10 o'clock at night, but it gives me a chance to do something creative, and I really like being my own boss." Mom passed out mood rings and appleseed bracelets to the entire class. The students immediately put them on, exclaiming, "Wow, neat! You mean we get to keep these for free?" "It's called advertising," said Mom. "Word of mouth advertising. Maybe you'll come to shop at Glad Rags now, or tell a friend." The whole class clapped when Mom was done. Julie glanced at her mood ring. It had changed from black to blue-green. The chart it came with said blue-green meant relaxed, calm. "Amazing," thought Julie, realizing that was exactly how she felt. During afternoon recess, all the kids could talk about was going to Glad Rags. They crowded around Julie, asking her when the shop was open and where it was, and if she could get stuff for free. Word of mouth was, Julie's mom was the coolest parent at career day. "Hey, Julie," TJ called, slamming his locker shut from across the hall. "Coach Manley's posting the basketball sign-up sheet after school today." In her excitement over career day, Julie had forgotten that today was the day for basketball team sign-ups. She hadn't even remembered to ask Mom about it. Julie could hardly sit still, waiting for the final bell to ring. As soon as school was out, she rushed down the hall toward the coach's office. "No running in the halls, young lady," called Mr. Sanchez. "Even after school." Julie forced herself to slow down. Coach Manley was a gym teacher. He had buzz-cut hair like a G.I. Joe, a growly face, and a thick neck. Every time Julie passed the gym, he was always shouting. Julie looked for a sign-up sheet on the wall, but didn't see one. She summoned her courage and knocked on the coach's door. She knew just how Dorothy felt knocking at the door of the Wizard of Oz. "Enter," barked the coach. Julie fixed on the bump in his nose to steady herself. He reminded her of a dragon about to breathe fire. "Hi, Mr. Manley," she said. "My name's Julie Albright. I'm a 4th grader and—" Yeah. You looking for the sign-up sheets? Got 'em right here." "Really? That's great. So I'm the first one?" "Yep. How many dozen should I put you down for?" asked Coach Manley. Dozen? Dozen what?
Cookies. For the basketball bake sale,
said the coach, leaning back in his chair.
we're trying to raise money for new uniforms. How about I put you down for some chocolate chip cookies? My favorite.
Cookies? I'm not here about cookies, said Julie. I'm here about the team. I want to be on the team, the basketball team.